Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, live here with us at the beautiful Marina Bay Sands. And we also have guests tuning in online as well. Thank you so much for taking the time and being with us here this morning. It's lovely to see all of you in person. And welcome to the Innotech Conference 2022. My name is Fiona Lowe. It's my pleasure to be your host for the main plenary. And for now, I'd like to direct all of your attention over to the screens. Let's enjoy a short video together. What a dynamic start to the Innotech Conference 2022. That was a great video. Now, this conference is held annually by ST Engineering, and it brings together technologies, experts, and partners from all around the world to exchange ideas and discuss on challenges that enterprises face in this digital economy. The theme for this year's conference, as you can see behind me, is digitalizing a smart, secure, and sustainable world. The main plenary will host 6 technology experts and leaders today who will be showcasing and sharing emerging technologies representing one of the core themes, smart, secure, and sustainable. So without further ado, please join me to welcome Mr. Lo Jinpang, President of Digital Systems, ST Engineering, to deliver his opening address. Jinpang, please.
Good morning to everyone physically here and those who are online. Welcome to ST Engineering Innotech 2022. I'm very happy to see so many of you this morning. Since we last organized Innotech 2019 right here, the global flows of humans and materials have greatly disrupted. Within a short span of 3 years, the irreversible effects of COVID, invasion of Ukraine, the bifurcation of technologies and economies, and global climate changes have greatly affected the world order, and the world order is still evolving. Many business operations are greatly affected, forcing themselves to be taking deep-seated changes and affecting millions of livelihoods. However, there are also many companies, very nimble, very innovative, who are thriving in an ever more dynamic world. Clearly, digital innovation has accelerated at an unprecedented pace, creating new possibilities providing new solutions to tackle many real-world challenges. In particular, cloud, AI, and cybersecurity has transformed many businesses and organizations, changing the way we work, live, and collaborate. At ST Engineering, we see digital innovations as important engines of growth for all our businesses. We are investing to build up capabilities, establishing partnerships within a global ecosystem to build reliable and resilient end-to-end solutions for our customers. In line with the theme of today's conference, building a smart, secure, and sustainable world, let me illustrate a few examples that we have developed in the areas of cloud, AI, cybersecurity, and 5G. One smart solution is in cloud computing. Companies are accelerating towards cloud adoption, modernizing many of their business applications towards cloud native, leveraging the innovations afforded by various cloud platform services. In 2018, we deployed the largest Microsoft private cloud infrastructure outside of USA. This year, we are deploying the largest Nutanix hybrid secure cloud infrastructure in Southeast Asia. To better manage the diverse cloud environments, we have also invested and developed our Agile cloud management platform. It manages migration to the cloud, control operating costs, more importantly, control data security, so as to enable users to operate in a very hybrid and multi-cloud environments. With cloud as the foundation for digital innovation, AI is transforming business operations with data-driven insights to allow users to optimize outcomes. Let me now illustrate a few examples of our AI-driven solutions that we have built in our systems that are deployed across space, air, land, and sea. Let me start with space. Our joint venture company, Geo Insights, have used advanced AI in satellite images for Earth observation. We have developed GeoEarth, a cloud-based AI platform for satellite imagery. GeoEarth provides deep insights into maritime security domain awareness, forest hotspot detection, and crop health analytics. To illustrate how we are using AI to support sustainability, let me use the example of crop health analytics. Working with Brazilian plantation owners, we have developed AI to monitor the crop health and optimize and provide analysis to the optimal macronutrients across 5,000 hectares of land. GeoEarth analyzes the optimal amounts of specific fertilizer nutrients, in the case of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, in specific areas, so as to give the farmers the maximum crops of yield. This reduces waste, improves operational efficiency, and reduces greenhouse gas emission. For the modern air force in the world, applying AI in air training and simulation system can offer a cost-effective solution for training pilots and ground crews. Besides reducing number of human trainers, it also reduces flying hours and, more importantly, reduces carbon footprints in testing and qualification of processes. In our aircraft maintenance procedure trainer delivered to the Royal Thai Air Force, we have used AI in trainee learning analytics. This AI offers trainees customized training modules that will yield them optimal learning experience and achieve higher passing rates. And more importantly, it reduces the number of human trainers by more than 30%. Similarly, we have used AI to provide predictive insights as part of the concept development demonstrator for the UK Royal Air Force to simulate fighting capabilities of the Joint Strike Fighters. With this system, warfighters can experiment with bold concepts of operations before validating in real flights. In our emergency response systems that we have deployed in the Singapore Civil Defence Forces, we have experimented with AI natural language processing into Singlish, Chinese, and Malay. With AI performing real-time transcribing, automated form filling, and fusing multiple cores of the same event, we have validated that the loading on the core handlers and the time for core processing can be reduced by more than 50%. This gives us confidence in implementing the same trial in our next deployment in the emergency response system in our Hong Kong Fire Service Department, in experimenting with their native Cantonese and Mandarin. The AI, we see great potential in AI in our next innovation to do predictive emergency response. For example, how can we predict the next fire? Or how can we predict the next cardiac arrest patient? We can hypothetically dispatch the first responder on site without even a call from the public. This might sound sci-fi, but it's not fiction. We have integrated video from multiple public security cameras and various sensors and applying big data analytics onto objects and human behavior, and this reality can come true in a very short span of time. We have also installed AI into unmanned surface vessel, or USVs in short. AI provides USV with autonomous operation, with using planning and navigation modules by infusing multiple real-time information across multiple sensors. This has enabled USV to detect a collision and avoidance from obstacles and other sea vessels at sea. Having invested in more than 10 years of R&D in this domain, we have successfully deployed autonomous USVs for mine countermeasures and also firefighting missions, thereby removing the human in these dangerous missions. Up to now, I have touched on smart cloud and AI solutions, but these solutions are not reliable without them being cyber secured. We have also deployed our AI system into ocean liner, what we call the autonomous, and this is undergoing trials. This is undergoing sea trials to collect navigation data across the world. This is part of the machine learning process for the autonomous mast to use different parts of the world's navigation to be used for navigation. Let me now touch on cybersecurity, which is an important capability that we have developed over 20 years. Our products such as data diodes, high-speed encryptors, secured security services, and secured computers have been sold to 16 countries around the world. With the rise of remote working culture, organizations need to secure their sensitive data while allowing their staff to work efficiently. In response to this demand, we have developed WizNight, the world's first ultra-small IP encryptor. WizNight connects securely to a control backend, hardware encryption that is certified by global common criteria. This allows enterprises to monitor the cybersecurity of each of the remote working staff and ensures no corruptions or attacks in the back-end system. With the pervasive deployment of hyper-connected networks of IoT, autonomous robots and vehicles, 5G is required to provide low-latency, high-capacity connectivity. We provide customers with our private 5G networking through our Agile 5G in a box, integrated with video analytics, and powered by edge compute capabilities. We are delighted to collaborate with advanced 5G ecosystem partners in building up our solutions and products. With so many innovations, what does the future look like? The world will continue to evolve with new uncertainties, new challenges, and the development of a new order. Digital innovation will be a key transformation agent to businesses and organizations. We see great opportunities in cloud, AI, cyber, and 5G to build smart, secure, and sustainable solutions so as to enable our customers to thrive in the new dynamic. I wish all a fruitful conference and a good networking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jim Pao, for kicking start the event this morning and also for your great sharing as well. Now, I'd like to share with all of you another short video on how we see ST Engineering's digital systems and cyber enabling organizations like yours to look into the future. A future in which disruption is not necessarily threatening, but also an opportunity for breakthrough possibilities for your employees, customers, as well as the larger community to thrive in this new dynamic environment. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
There is a new dynamic in the world today. We see it, feel it, and wonder where it will lead us, because it is changing our lives, changing the way we work, how industries operate, and communities come together. This new dynamic is all about interconnectivity. From where we are today, it beckons us to take that leap into the future. It is for those who are unafraid to scale new heights and go forth. At ST Engineering, we believe that the digital transformation offers breakthrough possibilities for our customers by enabling them to identify opportunities and threats, reimagining industries, business processes, and workflows, boosting employee and systems performance, to create seamless experiences for consumers and citizens across all touchpoints. We reliably connect multiple systems and people with accurate data to monitor vitals in real time and ensure the right response in those critical moments. From interoperability efficiencies to more precise and rapid diagnostics, our solutions deliver integrated healthcare that saves lives and keeps us going strong. With satellite communications and digital twin technology, we can sustainably manage resources for cities, advancing the fight against climate change with predictive capabilities and advanced network sensors for greener environments and safer, more livable communities. Like the promise of all we've done in the past, from engineering innovation and systems integration, we move you to imagine what could be. We develop agile solutions so that you can seize the possibilities, to go further and to thrive. We make the complex simple and the improbable possible through the design and delivery of digital systems that enable breakthroughs so that you will thrive in the new dynamic.
Now, I hope that the video has gotten you excited about what to expect today. Now, our next speaker is joining us virtually from San Francisco, Mr. Pascal Bonnet, Chief Data Officer of Era Technology and member of the Forbes Technology Council, is a recognized global expert in AI and a pioneer in the field of intelligent automation. He will be sharing with us on how to use intelligent automation to boost business and build a more human world. So please join me to welcome Pascal.
Good morning. I'm very glad to be with you today. Very impressed and delighted to join this great event. Over the coming minutes, I'm going to talk about one of this decade's most impactful and exciting technology trends. It is called intelligent automation, or IA to make it shorter. It has been ranked #1 most important tech trend of 2021 by the famous research company Gartner. Before starting, let me introduce you to Anna.
Thanks for inviting me. Hello everyone, my name is Anna. You might not believe me, but I am not a real person. I have been built using machine learning. Pascal programmed me to help him share his insights with you, and at the same time demonstrate the cutting-edge capabilities offered by technology today. I am very excited to be with you today.
Thank you, Anna. We are very excited to have you with us today. We often say that pictures speak more than 1,000 words. And to introduce the benefits of IA, I will show you some horrible pictures. They present the reality of our world today that IA can help change forever. Let us start with the customer experience. And believe me, I took this picture a few months ago. Hundreds of people lining up to buy a train ticket. According to recent research, more than 90% of unhappy customers don't even bother complaining. They just leave and they go to the competition. So there is a need to drive better the satisfaction and loyalty by digitizing and automating customer experience. And even when those processes are digitalized, they are often a headache. Clients spend hours filling out forms on the web, uploading documents, entering the same information here and there. I mean, we've all had the same experience and the same headache. Again, here, IA can help solve these issues. Let us talk now about the employee experience. And as you can see on this image, can you imagine working in such an environment? It's not surprising that according to a recent survey, 85% of the employees worldwide are not happy with their work. Now, this is how a calendar gets messy when best practices are not followed. So there is an urgent need to digitalize documents, automate tasks, coach employees using virtual assistants so that we can create a work environment that people enjoy and where they can thrive. Let's talk now about the medical doctors. These research show that more than 80% of healthcare organizations have their physicians facing burnout due to work overload. And here again, there is a need to digitalize and automate to free them up from admin tasks and leaving them more time to take care of their patients.
Pascal, can you stop here?
Yes,
Enough
Anna.
of horrible pictures for today. Now that we understand what intelligent automation needs to change, can you tell us what IA is and how it can help solve these issues?
Of course, Anna. To define IA, let's start with what it is not. It's not about those physical robots that we've seen in the manufacturing industry over the last 2 centuries. Officially coined in 2017, IA is a new type of automation. The automation of tasks that are performed on computers. So basically, any task that you can perform on a computerized environment can be automated with intelligent automation. Think of sending emails, reconciling files, identifying patterns on an X-ray. Think of predicting sales. IA has become one of the most important trends of the decade because of one key fact. More than 80% of the people in the world work on computers. So this means that more than 80% of the people in the world can grab the benefits from IA. They can be more productive, they can have a more exciting work experience.
Pascal, I did some research yesterday night on the benefits of intelligent automation, and here's what I found.
Of course, Anna, please go ahead.
IA improves business efficiency by 20 to 60%.
That's true, and this is available across functions and across industries.
On average, IA increases by 50% the customer satisfaction.
That's true, and this is by providing better products and services faster and cheaper, so basically driving revenue growth.
It significantly enhances the employee experience.
That's true, and this is by automating or eliminating 60% of the repetitive and transactional tasks currently done by people. leaving the more value-add and exciting ones to the people, like focusing on strategy, on relationship, on creativity.
IA has the potential to save 10+ million lives per year.
That's true, and this is by supporting research, clinical trials, disease diagnosis, and patient support.
I heard that more than 50% of companies in the world have already started to implement IA. Can you tell us how do they use IA?
Of course. And here is a very powerful framework to answer your question. IA is achieved by mimicking the 4 capabilities that employees use in their work activities. It includes the vision, the execution with our hands and legs, the language, and finally thinking and learning. And as you can see on this framework, people are in the center. They are a critical component to ensure the success of IA. Indeed, IA is built by people for people. So training, change management, education are vital. Each of the 4 capabilities that you see on the screen leverage a portfolio of technologies. Let us start with the first one, the vision. The vision is the equivalent of our eyes. It is supported by a technology called computer vision. It allows computers to analyze images, recognize letters, objects, and basically view the environment. For example, this system uses standard surveillance cameras from shops to help manage the shops. It tracks the items on the shelves and provides 2 key benefits. The first one is with automated restocking, the system identifies that a product has been taken from the shelf and it directly orders a new one from the supplier. The second key benefit is it allows for cashierless shopping. So basically, as the system identified that a client took a product from the shelf, it directly orders a new one. It directly proceeds with the payment from the client's account. So basically, no checkout, similar to Amazon Go, if you're familiar with that one, but cheap and accessible to all shops. The next capability I want to share with you is execution. Execution is the hands and legs. It allows computing programs to accomplish actions in a digital environment. Think of typing, clicking, opening applications, sending emails. The key technologies supporting this capability are robotic process automation, that we call RPA, smart workflows, APIs. I will now show you an example of how robotic process automation system can be used. And to make it a bit fun, you'll see it's a contest. So to demonstrate the benefits of robotic process automation, let us start the contest now. At the top is a person, at the bottom is a robotic process automation program. Both of them are performing exactly the same tasks, which is about entering data, creating a report, and sending the report by mail. So let us see who will win the contest. So it seems the robot already finished after 16 seconds. The man is still working on it. Okay, and this is the final outcome. So the man took 15 minutes and 5 seconds and did 2 typo errors, while the robotic process automation program took 16 seconds and didn't do any error. So the lesson learned is that robotic process automation programs are better and faster than us at performing those repetitive, rule-based activities. And we like this because it helps us to focus on more value-add and exciting activities, such as creativity, relationship, or strategy. Let's move now to the third capability, which is language. Language is like the mouth and ears. It's supported by a technology called natural language processing. It gives machines the ability to speak, to write, to derive meaning from human language. Well, Anna is the best example of such a technology. The last capability I wanted to share with you is thinking and learning. It is similar to our brain. It is supported by machine learning and deep learning. It gives computers the ability to analyze, to create insights, to predict, to make decisions, and to learn. For example, business forecasts built using machine learning help to reduce by 50 to 80% the employee workload so that people can focus on other creative activities. It increases the speed to build forecasts from weeks to minutes, and it improves significantly the accuracy of those forecasts.
This is very clear. IA leverages 4 capabilities, and each of them is supported by different technologies. Can you give us an example of how we can combine these capabilities together?
Of course, Anna. And now for you to understand the power of IA, let's take a full use case. So this picture shows the traditional way to open a bank account. So basically you need to go to a branch. You'll spend 1 to 2 hours there answering questions and providing documents. Now, with the support of IA, here is the new customer experience. So basically, you're seated on your sofa, you're using your phone, and you can open your bank account in just a few minutes. And this is how it works in the background. A typical bank account opening process involves eight steps, as you can see here. So traditionally, they used to be very manual steps, like reconciling files on Excel, manually uploading documents, sending emails. And as a result, it used to take an average 3 days to 1 week to open a bank account for a new client. Now, with the help of IA, the process is fully automated, end-to-end, providing higher customer experience and employee experience and reducing the costs by more than 50%. As you can see, each step of the process is automated using a different IA technology, such as intelligent workflows, RPA, computer vision, machine learning, APIs, and more. So basically, the color coding that you can see on this slide refers to the capability that we've just seen in the framework. The combination of the IA capabilities enables to create synergies and to automate the most complex end-to-end processes, as we can see here. So automating end-to-end processes instead of isolated tasks is the most optimal way to increase the business impact. So this combination is not only at technology level, but also at talent level. Successful companies have been able to merge their different teams, such as data science, process automation, customer experience, and create those end-to-end processes in automation. Anna?
With technology constantly improving, IA keeps on evolving, continuously creating more potential to benefit companies. Can you give us a look at what the future holds for IA?
Of course. Let me give you a glimpse at how IA will enable the future of work. Let us start with the democratization of IA. If we want to scale the impact of technology, we can't rely only on programmers and coders to implement new systems. So what if anyone could just explain in plain language what they want to program and let the machine generate the code automatically? So this is what you can see on this video. This technology is called GPT-3, currently the most powerful natural language processing program. It has been released a year ago and has been trained on more than 1 trillion words of data from the web. So thanks to this, GPT-3 can also answer complex questions without any training. For example, if you give it a series of cities and their populations, it will provide the population for any new city added. So basically, its knowledge is so deep that it helps doctors perform disease diagnosis. Another trend is the dematerialization of the office. Imagine if we could get rid of our keyboards, screens, and other hardware, and have the capacity to work anywhere at any time, away from the limitations of the physical world, and interacting with any surface, like on a keyboard. Working remotely with 5G, this technology claims a glass-to-glass latency of 40 milliseconds, making drivers feel as if they were in the truck. This remote surgery was made by a London surgeon in Banana, in California, using 5G, and as you can see, with an impressive precision. Finally, this is the future of speaking engagements with holographic telepresence. So basically, it relies on the combination of depth sensor with augmented reality. Well, I could share
The content we have just shared comes from...
I could share about IA for hours, but it is now time for the next presentation. Anna, you want to say something?
The content we have just shared comes from the first reference book dedicated to IA and hyperautomation. This book has become a bestseller. It is available on Amazon and all your favorite bookstores. Profits from the book sales are donated to charities in charge of educating people in needs to new technologies. It was a pleasure to share this presentation with you today. I hope to see you again soon.
It was a pleasure to share my passion with you today. Enjoy the rest of this great event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pascal. That was a great showcase. And hopefully next year we'll be able to catch you in person in Singapore. Did you guys enjoy his showcase? Because I really did. It was very interesting as well. So moving on to our next speaker, we have Mr. Vinay Ravuri, Chief Executive Officer and founder of HQ, who has over 25 years of experience as a distinguished industry executive and a general manager for high-tech corporations in compute, communications, and networking. And today he will be sharing with us on the convergence of 5G and artificial intelligence. So please join me to welcome Vinay.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Awesome. Thank you, ST Engineering, for inviting me to talk here. I'm super excited to be giving you guys an overview of 5G and AI. So you often hear about 5G and AI, but separately. You almost never hear them about how they come together. So my talk is going to focus on how 5G and AI converge. So in fact, one has a lot to do with the other. You saw a lot about how digitization is changing the world, particularly digitizing physical assets securely and in a sustainable manner. So 5G is actually center of all this. And in my talk, I'm going to give you guys an overview of 5G, AI, and some applications on how these things work together. So before I get into 5G, it's a good idea to look back and see how we got here. Kind of look back the last 30 years. 5G was built on 2G, 3G, and 4G. And these Gs transition every 10 years or so. For example, 4G started in 2010, 3G in 2000, and 2G in 1990. Although all these cellular technologies have something to do with the phone, going from a flip phone in 2G to a smartphone in 4G, there's always a single application that made it super successful. 4G, for example, streaming video was that killer application. If you think about it, more than 50% of the internet traffic is video-based. And video streaming in 2010 barely existed when 4G actually got deployed. Netflix wasn't even there. They were doing DVD by mail. Facebook Live wasn't there. Let's see, so YouTube was, I think, still called YouTube. It wasn't even part of Google. And something like, let's see, Snapchat, which is very popular, Instagram, these things didn't even exist. So really, these technologies, these applications rather, lag the technology. So cellular technology gets deployed first, but the applications kind of get built on top of it. So if you build it, they will come. That's sort of the nature of these things. And 5G is no different. 5G started deployments in 2020. 6G will go into 2030 timeframe, and they sit in this networks for like 10 plus years. So let's talk a little bit about 5G. You've seen a lot of these example applications of smart factories. You saw ports, hubs, agriculture. One thing they all have in common is that they all generate a lot of data. The key is how do you monetize that data? And that's what everybody's running after. But there's a nuance to this thing. Data has shelf life. Data is no longer useful after a certain time. Let me give you some examples. If this was an autonomous car, while the car is driving, it needs to make decisions based on what it sees. And what that basically means is within a millisecond to a second, that data has to be used. Otherwise, the value of that data goes away. And there's cost to transportation of data. You can't necessarily go out to the cloud at gigabits per second speed to make decisions in a central manner, like in Amazon services or something like that, Amazon Web Services. So the approach that's been taken using 5G and AI is to make those decisions locally. Locally meaning if it's a robot, it would decide, or a car, decide what it's going to do computation-wise locally instead of going out to the cloud. So this needs to happen in a private manner, in a secure manner, in a local way. So let me give you a quick overview of 5G itself, technology-wise, how it actually works. 5G is many things to many people. 5G is a very diverse technology. But there are three things that sort of make up for most of these things. These are these three high-order bits. First one is spectrum. Spectrum is the lifeblood of any of these Gs. Even for Wi-Fi, it's the same thing. Basically, spectrum, kind of think about this as, bandwidth. How many bits per second can you get? How much, frequency do you have? How much bandwidth do you have? 5G has two chunks of large bandwidths it released. One in what's called sub-6 gigahertz, and another one in what's called millimeter wave. Millimeter wave is 28 gigahertz and higher. Sub-6 gigahertz is 6 gigahertz and lower. The amount of bandwidth 5G has released is more than 2G, 3G, 4G put together. So there's a lot of bandwidth available in 5G. And the reason it's there is that it expects diverse set of applications and a rich, immersive environment, particularly a lot of camera data, basically computer vision type of applications to make use of it. It's not all going to happen in day one. It's going to happen over time. But it is there. That's the vision for 5G in terms of the spectrum. Second is probably the most important part of 5G, what's called a flexible waveform. 5G is if you kind of think about it as a protocol stack, you have different layers of the protocol. But at the lowest layer is what's called a waveform. It's based on OFDM, orthogonal frequency multiplex division a waveform. 4G is the same, Wi-Fi is the same, 5G is the same. In itself is not that important. What does 5G offer is that OFDM-based waveform can be customized and modified. The reason for this is 5G addresses and enables a lot of applications. On one end, it might be a small sensor that just transmits a few bits per second. And the other end, it literally could be a car that's transmitting and receiving video data or map data that's gigabits per second. But if you think about a IoT sensor, that sensor may have a battery that has to last for over a year, which means it's not going to transmit a lot. It's going to be very, very little of transmission data. So you don't want that little application to be utilizing or consuming a lot of power. So the waveform itself has to be somewhat customized for that particular application. And then if you think about a phone call, you also want the phone call to just use what it needs and not so much burn too much power because you want your smartphone to last all day. So on and so forth. So the waveform is designed in such a way that you can modify this thing on a use basis, but still be compliant across the board. And that's the key to this waveform thing. In doing so, it enables low latency communication, so the entire thing can actually be round trip, can be done within a millisecond, for example. Super high reliability, which means that you transmit something, it is 100% guaranteed that that packet will make it to the other side. In mission critical applications, you need that. Third is what's called network slicing. It's just a new name for something that already exists in cloud computing. If you think about cloud computing, it's really virtualization is like the center of all of this, right? So what does that mean? You take a physical system and you sort of slice it virtually and you call that virtual machines, and you get a a piece of that data center or a network or a compute system, it looks like you own the whole thing, but you really just own a slice of it. This is much the same way. A sensor network may have a very thin slice, while a telephone network might have a larger slice, while, let's say, a drone or an autonomous car may have even a bigger slice. But the physical network is one. You don't want multiple of these things. You just want one physical network that's kind of reused for their quality of service. So what does this do? All of this really is more about bringing together the next trillion users. And they're not trillion people. So that is things. These are intelligent things. So this is essentially digitizing your physical world. That's the theme. That is the next 10 years. That is what 5G enables. And if you think about that world, it's less about people, more about automation, more about computer vision, more about pulling together fusion of data, because the data now is going to come through in multiple ways. So let me give you some examples of what those may look like. A first example here is warehouse logistics. So people have different names for it. In Industry 4.0 is another name that they give. But specifically, e-commerce is a big thing nowadays, right? Everybody orders things online. We order stuff from Amazon. Literally, what may take 5 minutes to go buy from a grocery store, I order from Amazon. We've just become lazy, that's all. But the number of packages that go through these logistics centers is just massive now. It's not just hundreds of packages, it's like thousands of packages, sometimes millions of packages a day go through these centers. So you can't have human beings picking up packages and then sorting them and putting them in the right place. So it's done through robots. So how do these robots work, and how does AI play a role, and how does 5G play a role? What happens is, a robot is much like think of it as like an autonomous car, just smaller scale. Its job is to go find the package within a large warehouse, which has aisles and aisles and aisles, and then pick up the thing, sort it, meaning put it in the right place on a conveyor belt, and let a truck or something, FedEx, pick it up. The way it does that is it has cameras in front, typically either RGB camera or combination of that with LiDAR, plus could be potentially radar, could also be infrared. Sometimes there's heat sensors around it. But it is autonomous. That's the key thing. It doesn't actually have to follow a fixed path. And the way that works is a neural network runs inside these robots. So there's a computer vision algorithm. There are many of them. Computer vision has really, really matured over the years. And its job is to find that package and kind of navigate the world it sees. And what 5G, it uses 5G to download these high-definition maps of that warehouse, for example, of that aisle. And the camera itself puts all this data together, and the robot it creates what's called a point cloud. And that point cloud is nothing but a digital version of what it sees, and compares the map to that point cloud and sees, okay, I am in lane 1, and my package that I need to get to is towards the end of that lane, and therefore I need to drive myself there. And that's what it does. So 5G is used in a continuous manner to transfer these map data, while AI runs inside that robot. So that's one application. Another one is an interesting one that you might really like. It's the port system. Singapore port is very famous and very large. This particular picture is the port of Los Angeles in California, where I live. I live in San Francisco, but this is an LA port. Port systems are very important for nations because it's a lifeblood of goods transferring in and out of a country. Typically, they come in a truck or a ship or a train, and then they get kind of moved around. In a manual world, meaning a truck is driven by a driver, and there's typically somebody at the entrance that lets you in, types down what that container on a truck might be, so therefore he can guide them to the right place. Let's say, hey, go to crane number 3, and the crane picks up the container that's on that truck and then moves it to, let's say, a ship, so on and so forth. This entire process takes about 5 days, typically. I know that Singapore port is quite advanced, so it might take a little less time. But the digitization of that physical world looks something like this. The truck, as it's driving in, there are cameras on poles that scan the truck all the time as it's going through. And that camera scans, in this case, it'll say Walmart, and there will be some, let's say, ID or something that says, okay, this container is bound to, say, China. And that means it has to go to lane 4, and then crane number 2, and the crane number 2 does the same thing. It scans that particular container, and then the crane gets its data from let's say it's a local cloud, so there's 5G wireless connection because you really can't lay fiber in places like this, and uses 5G to figure out, okay, this container needs to go on crane 4 or some other staging in between, and then be put on a ship for ultimately to be sent out. So what do you gain in all this? First thing is, it's about productivity increase, right? You want to be able to, you saw, for example, in the previous talk, humans are error prone. So you want to remove the errors in this thing. So this becomes very efficient. Second is time. You saw something like 16 seconds to 14 minutes or something. That's like 50 to 60 times faster. It's the same idea here. You want to go from 5 days to potentially a few hours. If you think about the productivity increase, it's massive. This is a last use case, and this is one of my favorite use cases, actually. What you saw before was commercial use cases. This is a defense-oriented use case. Defense tends to lag sometimes commercial use cases. They try to use commercial technology as much as possible because there's the economy of scale that goes with it. But when it comes to communication, it's actually pretty difficult to do that. The reason is you're often operating in an enemy environment. It's adversarial, so you want it to be super secure, unjammable, undetectable. So companies tend to implement this top to bottom in a very proprietary manner, which includes making chips all the way and software and everything else that goes around it. But the opportunity is massive. I mean, every missile has some communication system, every drone, helicopter, maybe a fighter jet, ship, it doesn't matter, even satellites. So 5G has kind of been built over, as I said, the last 30, 40 years, meaning it's based on the previous technologies. And then it's one of the most advanced communication technology there is. So what if you could take that 5G and replace, let's say, portion of it with something highly secure. So if you remember, I talked about the flexible waveform thing. That's where this thing comes in. You can actually utilize the rest of 5G, but take the lowest layer out, insert a waveform that's highly secure, that's custom to that particular defense application, and then make use of 5G base stations as you have it, all the packetization, the core network, and the transport network, all of that is commercial technology all of a sudden. So you're leveraging the existing stuff. So think about now time to market, what that means in defense. Instead of waiting for a decade to build something, and spend hundreds of millions of dollars, you could do this literally in like a year. I mean, if you think about just the value of that. So with that, I want to leave you with this. Even though 5G and AI seem like stuff that's way out in the future, I think all these technologies exist in isolation today. Bringing all of it together is the key. And that is what next 10 years are going to be. It's how they all come together to become useful. So that's the digitization of manufacturing, ports, defense, warehouses, enterprise, satellite, it doesn't matter. It's going to touch every aspect of our lives. And EdgeQ, we are a chip company. We're sort of the 5G meets, rubber meets the road. So we do what's called a base station on a chip that does both 5G plus AI in a single chip. And it's based on RISC-V open architecture, and it's Open RAN compliant, very low power. But the key thing is it's all software driven. So you can modify things for defense use cases and in the commercial use cases for different types of 5G applications. We have this, in fact, running today. I invite you to go see it in the demo area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Vinay. And coming up, we'll be hearing from Dr. Brian Tan, Chief Scientist at Caro, where he leads all aspects of technological innovation in Caro Southeast Asia's operations. And the data science department he heads has been the driving force behind pioneering projects like Caro Anywhere, Singapore's first contactless car selling platform. Now, Dr. Tan will be sharing with us on the current state of the tech talent landscape. So please join me to welcome Dr. Brian Tan.
Hello, hi, good morning everyone. Thank you so much for the invite. It's my honor really to be here. And it's finally good to see so many friends and people in person after such a long COVID break, you know. So during COVID itself, things changed quite a lot. So we wanted to show you today, use case. We talk about the successful transformation of a used car marketplace, which is traditionally a very low-tech business. And then we also talk about, you know, what are the people that are required to make this transformation, and hopefully some of it can be, you know, there'll be some takeaway that you can get from this experience. So I'll give a very short introduction on what is Caro. So Caro itself is a Singapore-based company. We have recently attained unicorn status last year. Basically, we are totally, I think a lot of our achievement actually emerges from the last few years during COVID period because of innovation that emerges when people come together. I'm going to give a small introduction of myself, which I did not. All right, so that's me. All right, so my name is Brian. So I'm a nuclear scientist. I do a lot of computational machine learning and computational physics. Well, a lot of what Caro does, or what Caro achieves, is actually possible with the use of data, with the use of AI. So how does AI or data comes about? So let's talk a little bit about you know, what nuclear is. I always like to envision the use of data being related to the chain reaction in nuclear reactions. So in nuclear reaction itself, we can think about every data or every data point emerging as from transaction. So in the transaction that happens, there are often many data points that we can actually get from it. For example, a car transaction occur. Who buy which car? What kind of car do they buy? What kind of color do they buy? When do they buy the car? So there are a lot of data points that actually emerges from every transaction, right? So similarly, it can be construed off as a chain reaction in nuclear reaction, where, you know, every neutron is a data point. And each data, in the transaction, in the reaction, there are many data points being produced, which can then be used to facilitate other transactions. So I guess that's where the, you know, the nuclear analogy can be brought in here. Pretty much a lot of stuff that we deal with data, we deal with people, and we give a brief history right now of what the company is about. Okay, today our sharing will have section 1, history, section 2, some of our AI innovations, and how it helps to propel the business, how we do it differently from people, as well as some of the factors that lies behind a successful data science strategy, right? So we started off in 2015, with a very simple idea of trying to make sales and purchase of cars, right? In 2016, to facilitate the idea, we started Genie Financial Arm, and 2017, we expanded into Indonesia and Thailand. In 2018 and 19, we expanded into Malaysia, okay, and we set up Caro after sales. And 2020 itself, we started our first contactless viewing and buying. And 2021, we managed to get our unicorn status. Well, I guess the unifying theme that have always been very fundamental to us is really people. People are what makes AI possible, right? We think about people, we think about data, and the people who actually makes such innovation of AI possible are not only like people who are technical, data scientists, etc., right? Actually, are people on the ground. I think everyone in Caro actually play a part in making data or transformation possible. I'll give you an analogy. Let's say, for example, in the buy or sales of a car, who knows the subject matter the best? The car salesperson, the car salesman, yeah? Now, when we data scientists need to build a system, who do we need to work with? We need to work with the car salesman. But creativity itself is not monopolized by the data practitioner. Creativity itself actually belongs to the subject domain expert, right? So in this case itself, we find that the most successful way to actually build a good data science strategy itself is to not build it as a silo, but to allow people in different teams to come together to build a project, to produce actionable insights. Not only insights, but they must be actionable. We go through some of the technology that we have that forms the bedrock of our, probably success. And then we can talk about, what kind of, how it comes about, all right? So basically for Caro itself, our business function around 4 main domains: marketplaces, subscription, after sales, financing, and insurance, right? So these are some of the key innovations that we have actually produced, and we'll go through them two by two, right? So the first one itself is that we are actually collecting data from all transactions that are across all the regions in Southeast Asia. So we operate fundamentally in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia. And so we have a lot of domain knowledge in the fact that we know every single car transaction that actually occurs on the classifieds, on the auction, etc. So we build, by machine learning, we build a model that allows us to do pricing, that allows us to do credit, inventory management, inventory risk. So we built a Caro dynamic pricing using this marketplace domain knowledge and state-of-the-art prediction model. How was this done? Was this done purely by data scientists? No. It was done with the help of data scientists and also car salesmen on the ground. They'll tell you condition of a car that actually helps to go into the pricing of the car as well. So simply said, I really say that teamwork is very important. In order for a successful data science or AI initiative, you need people from all domains, from the user all the way to the model builders and so on and so forth. So because of this, we are able to create the largest Southeast Asia online car dealership where we buy and sell cars entirely end-to-end. Okay? And we also do our own financing and insurance. Now, in the past, motor insurance have always been based on 3 parameters. All right, number 1, your age. Number 2, your gender. Number 3, your years of driving experience. Across the world, for the last 100 years, it have never changed, right? So what we do here, we actually launch our own insurance by putting telemetries in car, by using AI to look at how people drive, and then assigning a premium or a discount to the good drivers. That's the way we look at it. User-based insurance, usage-based insurance. With AI, we believe we can change the way in which transactions were conducted in the past, in which risks were priced in the past. So other 2 innovations that we have from Caro is acoustic sound analysis. We listen to the engine sound of cars, right? It's pretty much, because we do about 1,000 inspections every day in the 4 regions that we deal with. So we collect all the sound signals of cars, and then we are actually able to do a machine learning model based on the large amount of data, right? And then we are able to tell which car have engine problem, when they require servicing, when is a belting going off, etc. We also use AI visual inspection, computer vision, as mentioned earlier in one of the previous presenter slides, to look at how we can increase accuracy and efficiency in car inspection. With that, what we do is we are able to lower or reduce manpower in inspection of cars. We are also able to be more standardized across different regions. So, regardless of the standards of mechanics in different countries, with our app, it standardizes the inspection. Of course, we do some computer visioning for AI inspection. Okay, and this allows us to create state-of-the-art refurbishment center and allow transparent and value services for all the drivers. The last 2 innovations that we have created itself are basically, our contactless showroom. Okay, in the past, car businesses or used car businesses tend to be localized. Where you have a shop, that's where you sell a car. Right, we believe that this can go further. So what we do is we place our cars in different environments, let's say, at the basement or shopping malls, and, we allow people to go in to test drive the car remotelessly. I think this solves a fundamental problem with key handover. This is a very old problem, but, we solve it using IoT. And then, of course, we also create personalized insurance based on usage pattern I talked about earlier on. So this is basically in Showroom Anywhere that is actually held in Tiong Bahru Plaza, where people can go in and see the car that they like and they can buy it off remotelessly without anybody, contactless. So this was actually, of course, another initiative that came out during COVID period, where we try to discourage contact between people. Of course, we have our own usage-based insurance and maintenance app as well, which we say, it depends on how you drive and so on and so forth. Right. So lastly, we are a small startup, so we try to think of new initiative all the time. One of the new initiatives that we have is a leasing program. We call it LEAP. So usually there are a lot of cars doing leasing, long-term lease or short-term lease, but we're really looking at mid-term lease. For example, if you are interested or curious in Singapore to try an EV, because EV just came to Singapore, right? So you try an electric vehicle. So what you do is you're not sure whether charging will be something that you are comfortable with in terms of time spent on the charging station. So you can get EV and for like a few months, and after that you can change it to something else. Then we have this program called LEAP as well. So in fact, in high COE prices, which I think some of us here are very concerned about, leasing actually makes a lot of sense. Because when the price of car is low, right? New car is low, used car is low, the beta is such, right? When the price of car is high, the new car are high, expensive, but used car are also high, expensive. So again, the beta is as such, right? It's still the same, right? So if you think about the delta between them being the same, the differential being the same at all times, at times of high COE prices, maybe it's better to consider leasing rather than buying. And when COE goes down again, perhaps you can consider buying. Yeah. So with that itself, this is our current state right now. We hit probably a $1 billion annual run rate for GMV, and we issue more than 300 million loans. We function pretty much in Southeast Asia across all this region. Yes. So this is what we have done so far. All right. Since our topic today, for a very short time, 15 minutes, is really about the state of the talent pool in Singapore, talent landscape, right? I guess when it comes to talent landscape itself, rather than focusing on hiring just data science practitioner, a key initiative could be looking at what drives innovation, because that's what we want. When you create a data science strategy, we create AI strategy. What you want is a product. You want innovation, right? So what drives innovation? Who drives innovation? Everyone drives innovation, right? So it's really about, I think, rather than hiring more data scientists or data practitioner to create AI product, sometimes it's more important to get people to work together. Existing group of people who are subject domain expert, they will be able to contribute largely to the AI initiative, to a successful product. And of course, what does success look like for innovations? So successful innovation means that when there's systemic innovation, when everyone comes together to actually build system, to build product. As some of the product that have been exhibited today by Jim Pang and Mr. Vinay, etc. Yeah. So in order to attract people who are good at innovating, young people who are exciting, we actually have our own hackathon as well. So for hackathon itself, recently we sent our hackathon winners last month to even Amazon Web Services, headquartered in Seattle, to actually pick up skills and techniques, because these people are young innovators. This is something that we should look at. In terms of talent landscape itself, we should not only be looking for data talent, we should be looking at creative people who are data talent. So I think that's one important trust that I would like to talk about today. All right. So I think my worldview in this very short session is that there are 4 currencies to run a tech enterprise: capital, talent, time, and data. All of these are very valuable assets that our organization have, and being able to capitalize on all of them is actually a way to build a tech enterprise in Singapore. So this is Caro, a Singapore company, built based from all our efforts, of everyone coming together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your sharing with us, Dr. Tan. I absolutely agree with you on the 4 currencies, and I would say to a certain point, they are very valuable and priceless as well. Now, next up, we have Mr. Lim Min Kwang, Chief Information Officer of the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore. He leads the Directorate architecting the Cybersecurity Master Plan for the nation, and he brings with him global technological experience and appreciates how technology and cybersecurity enable industries. Now, let's hear from Min Kwang's sharing on securing Singapore's digital ecosystems. Min Kwang, please.
Good morning. Hello, good morning, ladies, gentlemen. Of course, smartphones and computers as well. Like hi, Google, Siri, Alexa, Cortana, right? The digital age is upon us, right, when we are talking regularly to these devices. Anna from Pascal's earlier presentation, right? So the theme for today, digitalizing a smart, secure, sustainable world, right? So, well, you've seen my profile. Obviously, I have to be sharing about secure today, from CSA. So very happy to be here. Again, Min Kwang here. Currently serving as the CIO as well as the Director for Master Planning with CSA. So now, cybersecurity is a pretty interesting topic. So, when I was an industry noob like 2 decades back, a senior explained security to me this way. He says, if it inconveniences the user, the more it inconveniences the user, the more secure it is. Wow. So, I'm glad that we have evolved cybersecurity education to today's state where it is seen more as an opportunity, right, rather than a cause. So today, if it is not secure, we don't consume. So I hope we keep to that mantra. It is the brakes that give you the confidence to speed, right? But of course, I keep to speed limit, right? So that said, we are all consuming technology, digitalization in big gulps today. So as the world becomes more digital, right, so does the cyber threat correspondingly increases. So now, the best part, cyber threats do not discriminate. So, a couple months back, with the government, they regularly have this phishing exercise, right? So, early morning, hundreds of unread emails, and then one of these links was actually part of the phishing exercises, the simulation. So, almost got hit, even with all my knowledge of how DNS works and how emails and so on works, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that, of course, 2 key points. First, I'm glad I did not get phished and end up in the naughty list, right? Of course, the second point, more important point, is that actually, even if you are trained, you are a veteran, you know how it works, actually, with the complexity of phishing today, it is very likely that you could still get phished. So now, that said, everyone in the room is, of course, at risk. Actually, beyond this room as well, is at risk to some extent. So every single organization, of course, in extension, right, is also at risk. So cyber hygiene is quite important, definitely, right? Because the attacks from unknown unknowns is definitely there. Things that we do not know about. And cyber attacks does not have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be things like zero-day remote code execution, exploiting vulnerabilities, and so on. It could actually just as very well be the social factor. So this brings us to the first of two, pretty popular cybersecurity threats rising these days, right? Yeah. So social engineering and ransomware. Now I'm sure everyone heard of stories of how keys are kept under the doormat, right? So you just take the keys and open the doors. Now leaving the keys outside your doors, or by the plants or whatsoever, right? It's like telling people, if you can find the keys, you can come to my house, lah. Yeah. But actually, you don't even need the keys, no. So a couple of years back, I lost my keys, clumsy me, right? Yeah. And then, so you know what you need? I need to call the locksmith. Took me about 2 hours to find the locksmith uncle. When he come to my house, it only takes him 5 minutes to open my door. Yeah, so that's how secure our locks is, right? So, yeah. So, of course, nowadays, we don't really trust the typical lock. Some of us have evolved to use biometrics lock or digital lock and so on. And of course, not tight keys under the carpet or next to the plant, right? Yeah. I mean, we are now more educated, right, in terms of physical security, and we are constantly seeking ways to see how we can, improve what we know, which is the physical aspect, your doors, your padlocks, and so on. So all these years of practice and education, and yes, Mom, I remember to lock the doors on the way out, yeah, right? So we have translated this sense of security over to the cyberspace, okay, which is a completely new domain. Yeah, so whoever still writes your password in your phone, yeah, that's literally like the key under the doormat, right? So who wants to guess the percentage of breaches that involve the human element? 82%, right? 82% of breaches. Now, so you think you are impregnable with your, millions of dollars of cyber defense tools, platforms, and everything in place, right? And then you have the human, as the point of failure, right? So you cannot ignore that, right? We have to pay attention to the human factor. So, of course, global situation causing insecurities as well is not helping. So you see a link, cheap gas, yeah. Cheap chicken, right? Yeah, of course, and free ice cream, who can say no to free ice cream, right? And I mean, it's not even signed off by the Nigerian prince, so of course you can click on it, right? Yeah. So of course, to strengthen the human link, we should provide training and education, right? So that people can potentially spot these threats and respond accordingly. Now, cyber attacks and social engineering techniques is constantly being evolved, right? So what you trained last year may no longer be relevant. I mean, we have seen earlier, you have AIs, you have deep fakes, and so you have now deep fakes phishing. Yeah, so as you patch your system, also remember to patch your people, of course, with regular training and education, right? Now, the second cybersecurity threat is one that has been increasing globally, ransomware. So we look at this chart. Yeah, it's about ransomware damages. Well, I mean, when I look at it, the first thing I thought was actually the COVID infection rates. Yeah. So 2021 saw the 13% increase in ransomware breaches. So this figure is higher than the last 5 years combined. Meanwhile, bulk of the cyber attacks that face the SMEs are ransomware attacks. Yeah, it's the most common attack. A quarter of the organizations that got this attack has to cease operations because your system no longer works. Yeah. So ransomware has evolved over the years. It has escalated its approaches, of course, during the pandemic, unfortunately, right? Yeah, of course, also because of digital take-up. Now, in the infancy, when ransomware was a toddler crawling around, they only attack individuals, right? They only hey, individuals, you click on this link, then I try to, get a ransom from you. Then, of course, it has evolved to businesses because businesses have more to, lose, right? And, of course, has more resources to pay ransom as well, right? Yeah. But, now today it has even evolved to include tactics like double extortion. So, you have one ransom for decryption, another one not to leak the sensitive data. And all you business owners out there, you wish your BD guy also as creative, right? Can get more and more, revenue from the customers, yeah? Right? So now, there are two key ways to prevent ransomware attacks, right? The first is the earlier point on bolstering user awareness, right? As well to combat the, the social engineering part of things. The second is to, of course, have the right processes and platforms in place. There's a whole array that can be done, backend, endpoint protection, data backup, patch management, network defenses updated, right? Yeah, so typical things. Now, so, think of, earlier on I mentioned the COVID. So think of the cybersecurity issues like the pandemic. I mean, the virus is always there. Cybersecurity threat is also always there. It's always lurking around us. So, we we do our best to stay clear of the virus. You take proper countermeasures, right? Get vaccinated, wash your hands, wear masks, and so on. So the hygiene measures dampens the side effects of cybersecurity as well, right? And it helps you to recover faster if you have the right proper hygiene measures. Now, soap was invented 5 millennia ago, yeah, not yesterday. So actually, likewise, a lot of cybersecurity basic hygienes and defenses were not invented like, decades ago. They were, they were not invented yesterday. They were like there for a long time. So now, of course, CSA recognizes that building cybersecurity for a resilient world, right, is it's a vast and complex problem. It extends far beyond the critical information infrastructure. We know that protecting digital way of life means extending support to the broader domestic cyberspace. So, of course, to do this, we have launched two certification schemes. The first is a cybersecurity certification program to recognize enterprises with good cybersecurity practices. And the second, of course, is a licensing framework for providers. Yeah. Now, as we becomes increasingly digital, right, we also becomes more exposed to digital risks. It's just growing in tandem, right? Yeah, so given these risk climates, when the business work with customers or partners, right, you want to have assurance. You want to tell people that you have done your due diligence, you have done your proper measures, put in the right tools in place, your people are trained, and so on. So for these reasons, organizations may want to consider this cybersecurity certification program for different use case, right? So there is the Cyber Essential and Cyber Trust Mark. This serves as a visible label to recognize enterprises that have implemented good cybersecurity practice. Now, the different marks, cybersecurity essential mark is targeted as SME, so it doesn't mean that only for those companies with a lot of resources, right? So even if you have limited resources, limited expertise, this mark helps to prioritize your baseline measures. Of course, it also comes with certain baseline toolkits that you can use to let your organization and stakeholders navigate the cybersecurity and how to defend yourself. Yeah. Now, of course, for the more larger organizations with more to lose, more data that you hold, more sensitivities, you will want to look at the Cyber Trust Mark. This is, of course, because of the depth of detail, it comprises up to 22 cybersecurity preparedness across 5 different tiers, right? So, of course, with both tiers, right, this allows you to incrementally raise your cybersecurity posture in alignment to ISO 27001. Now, of course, we also have curated an ecosystem correspondingly for both marks for partners who provide services and products, so that for the adopters, you can just actually take from the list and use them accordingly. So, what's the difference between the two marks? There's the essential mark and there's the trust mark. Well, a lot of fancy names. Yeah, so we recognize that enterprises have different organizational profiles, as well as your risk appetite, your cybersecurity risk appetite. Now, different nature of business as well have different operational needs. So, SMEs, smaller organizations, I'm sure the first thing you don't want to do is spend more than you can earn, right, on cybersecurity. You build like, $1 million of cybersecurity defense when you don't even make that much, right? It doesn't make sense, right? So we understand the business aspect of it as well. So naturally, there's this difference between the corresponding levels, yeah? So larger organizations, on the other hand, definitely you have a more complex IT infrastructure, larger volumes of data, sensitive data that you do not want to have exposed. Yeah, so that definitely you want to look at different level of considerations as well. So, of course, on top of these two security mark, CSA have also launched the cybersecurity service provider licensing framework. Now, cybersecurity, is a complex topic. I think we all agree with that. There's a lot of information asymmetry between the consumers and the service providers. So having a licensing framework allows us to mitigate issues such as malicious actors serving as bona fide service providers and getting access into the system. Right, so at present, this applies to all the cybersecurity service providers providing pen testing as well as managed SOC services. Now, these two services actually have a very high potential for this catastrophic consequence when abused, which is why we are starting off with this. Now, on the roadmap, of course, is to include standard and quality requirements as well. Now, we would also like to urge and remind all cybersecurity service providers who are in the business to apply for license by 11th of October 2022. Call for action, please. Yeah, right. Yeah. So those who apply for license can continue to operate until the decision is made. Yeah. So with that, I come to a close for today. I'd like to offer three takeaways. So first, we sometimes focus too much on the technology aspect of cybersecurity. I mean, well, we can't run away from that. But however, users also need to be educated and re-educated. So constantly to avoid being a victim of the social engineering. Don't let the human be the weakest point of failure, like the weakest link. So why do you clean your house every day, right? I mean, tomorrow it will be dirty again. It's about, hygiene, right? You don't want your virus and bacteria to settle with you, right? So you clean your house. So, of course, unfortunately, cyber, we haven't invented Roomba yet, right? So that will take a while. Well, but speaking of hygiene, right? Good hygiene is not a compliance, it's an investment, right? The risk of cyber attacks is always present. We do our best to improve our cybersecurity hygiene so that damages are dampened, and so that we can recover faster from an attack, making it a less painful recovery. Of course, like take your vaccines, And speaking of vaccines, so CSA, Cyber Trust Mark, Cyber Essential Mark, they are good starting points to help your organizations to be more cyber resilient. And of course, again, call for action. Remember to apply for the cybersecurity licensing framework by 11th of October. Right? So with that, I'd like to remind everyone that we are all part of the digital ecosystem. We have all a role in making it safer for everyone else in the ecosystem. So, I don't know how much you remember I said for the past 15 minutes, but I hope everyone take away one or three things, that you have identified to make your digital space safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ming Kwang. Really enjoyed his sharing. It's very dynamic and it's full of energy as well. And now our next speaker is Mr. Chu Min Leong, President of Urban Solutions ST Engineering. Now we'll find out from him on the topic of smart cities priorities. What's next? So please join me to welcome on stage Min Leong.
Well, good morning. I think we heard it all morning today that the pandemic followed by the war in Ukraine short order has actually triggered a once-in-a-generation reimagining of global order and restructuring of supply chains in boardrooms and governments. But that is not what I want to talk about right now. Instead, I want to focus essentially on how digital technology is really continuing to enhance lives for citizens and also a city's competitiveness in the evolving world order. Now, before we get into that, just let me come down a few notches. I want to give you a specific example of how digital technology have actually enhanced quality of life in a smart city setting. Remember the time when you rushed to the bus stop only to see that your bus is driving off, and then you have to wait for another 8 minutes. In the meantime, you're wondering, okay, the bus that is going to come, how crowded would it be when it finally arrives? Fast forward. Today, the intervals between buses are actually much better managed. Bunching and wide gaps are essentially eliminated. Intervals are much more predictable, more regular, of course. And through the mobile application, in fact, there are quite a number of them, if you are willing to go and find out, you can use these mobile apps actually to get the predicted timing of the next available bus. Accurate, down to plus minus 1 minute. Even better, you will know whether the bus that is coming has seats for you, standing room only, or simply unboardable. All of that I mentioned basically empowers you as a commuter, basically when to come down to the bus stop to catch the bus in good time. Basically reduce waiting time, reduce standing time, reduce crowding at bus stops. These are just examples of tangible benefits derived from a simple aggregation of software and hardware technologies combined with new operating concepts. The system that I'm talking about is the Common Fleet Management System. The buses are actually wired up to provide its location and operating parameters, and then of course communicating all that via LTE to the central system, which then compiles and provides a bird's eye view of the bus fleet. The system actually enables control interventions to be pumped out from the central to the buses has direct advisories so that the drivers are actually given cues. And on the software end, the data that is processed is actually shared out via an open platform for use by the various mobile applications which give you the prediction. So you may ask, what is the new operating concept here? Very simple. It is open data gone live, picked up by the various apps to basically interface with commuters, placing very useful information in your hands. Now, what do all these examples have to do with the next priorities for smart cities, and in the case of Singapore, smart nation? I think at the smart nation level, we have conducted multiple trials and POCs. You guys know it. In selected cases, we have rolled out smart city type initiatives across different parts of the nation, and some of them have become strategic national projects. Some of these, I think, we're quite familiar, like the IoT platform, Decada, the parking app, parking.sg, national framework for AV trial deployment, intelligent LED upgrade programs for public lighting, Yihua Smart Town, Punggol Eco Town, and so forth. And all of them have done fairly well on their own rights. But I think it is time to think about scaling up the smart city innovations to the systems level. I'm talking about the appropriate combination of software and hardware technologies overlaid with new operating concepts to solve national problems at scale, including dealing with the impact of climate change, traffic congestion, aging population, or simply to improve service delivery nationwide. And at the core of the next priorities for smart city is the scale application of enterprise-type digital platforms at townships or national infrastructure levels. Now today, you all know, platforms are becoming quite commonplace. There's a multitude of them at all levels, coming from different sources, for different functions, and some of them are beginning to become more ubiquitous. And as we go forward, it's quite clear, some of these platforms will thrive, some of them will actually become obsolete. But that's not my point. My point is Singapore do need a central trust to see how we can push for scale application of the best platforms available to achieve new standards of user experience with tangible benefits, help level up sustainability at the nation level while seeking to actually reduce overall operating costs. Today, we are already in process of building the open digital platform for Punggol Digital District, which is actually a strategic national project. What is the end goal, you may ask? It is an enterprise platform that serves as a central brain of the 50-hectare estate with the ability to link up the various smart city verticals. It will provide a full compilation of how PDD can work and operate most efficiently in various areas, whether it's lighting, microgrid, waste system, security, logistic transportation, and smart offices. It will also actually facilitate smart and efficient facility management by providing health status of critical building assets and queue for their corrective maintenance. Meanwhile, this platform, we are aiming to get it to drive a year-on-year reduction of the overall facility management costs. Now, going forward, I think the next big benefit is to see how we can actually leverage on an enterprise platform, not unlike the one that I talked about for PDD, essentially for energy resource management across estates, across townships. Such an enterprise platform can be connected to multiple smart metering to achieve real-time energy and water usage monitoring, able to collect data and measure carbon footprint generated, capable of driving smart microgrid operations, and of course, optimize energy use through smart lighting and cooling that are designed to be fully adaptive, meaning they can operate in accordance to the prevailing occupancy and traffic. This enterprise platform can serve as the digital brain of the entire estate and help push towards net zero outcomes, even as it serves to enhance efficiencies in facilities management and office workflow management. And the best part is that it can be easily multiplied and used at any major infrastructure, whether it's HDB estate, private, or industrial estates, as well as the larger transportation infrastructure. Next. Now, instead of limiting ourselves to the currently what is experimental lamppost as a platform initiative, and then testing out them in specific trial areas, I'm suggesting that we should think about how to move that to one where we transform the entire network of some 110,000 intelligent LED-based lampposts in Singapore into a pervasive integrated network. Obvious goal is to make that integrated network fully adaptive, which means that it can achieve quantum jumps in energy efficiency with lighting that adjusts to ambient conditions and traffic, at the same time providing health status monitoring, leading to responsive maintenance intervention. Thereafter, the entire network actually can become the eyes and ears of the city with two central outcomes. One, environmental monitoring, and two, enhanced security surveillance. Video data that is collected can be easily integrated into the Common Video Exchange, or CVX, which, by the way, the GovTech is actually building, allowing the data to be able to flow to agencies that can make the best use of it on a real-time basis. Coverage, of course, will be more complete, and data can also be made to yield greater benefits when combined with data analytics to draw out the sought-after patterns and alerts. And I also just want to highlight, in the not-too-distant future, these smart lampposts may become the new interfaces with your vehicle through various direct comms means. I can actually visualize having stacks of new V2X data on the road traffic that is collected, worked on, and actually returned back to you as a driver to facilitate more seamless journeys. This can actually build whole new use cases of vehicle to roadside infrastructure, and some of which I think today actually we may not know of or understand. And this is a good segue to talk about mobility. Now, to be able to drive up public transport mode share to become, I think, one of the highest in the world, so that you and I don't have to pay all these crazy prices for COEs, by the way. Yeah. And be able to lean more on the transport means that has a much lower carbon footprint per kilometer traveled. We need to enable the entire ecosystem to work effectively like clockwork. Now, what does that really mean? I think for the future smart nation, we envisage an integrated transportation operations hub and C2, which has a view of all the multiple modes of transport and is able to derive commuter, traffic, and systems view of each mode. Now, putting it all together, it will monitor and project demand on a real-time basis, and then drive intervention in terms of supply adequacy so that there can be little to no gaps at any point in time. In fact, it can also facilitate much faster response and mitigation in the event of disruption by providing all options for diversion or rechanneling, all linked to public communications means. And to complete the picture of how we can help to achieve Singapore's dream to become the 20-minute town and 45-minute city, I think there are a few more critical supporting modules that could help bring about a smart and green mobility ecosystem. One to be considered is really how we can build an awareness of the land transportation carbon footprint. Here I'm talking about building capacity to model the carbon footprint of our land transport networks. Only then can we start determining the next steps for interventions in carbon reduction. Another is the enterprise asset management system for both rail and road systems. This is actually very much needed to ensure that we can have on-time obsolescence prevention, also help to level up, and most importantly, sustain the highest level of mean kilometers between failures as possible. Next up, smart digital junctions that sees the complete road and pedestrian traffic around junctions and uses AI to facilitate smoother flow at the junction and across junctions. And by the way, there's one side benefit here, and this for the guys from LTA in the audience here. Actually, you'll be surprised. This will actually going to cost you much less to maintain than the current inductor loop adaptive junctions that we have today. And there's also a possibility for us to look at building a national platform for mobility as a service. The focus is to put in your hands the ability to enable you, the commuter, to basically plan, to book, and pay, as well as execute your public transport journey end-to-end, according to your priorities, whether it's time, whether it's cost, or whether it's green. And this potentially can be a very important enabler for a 20-minute town and 45-minute city. Everybody also knows that EVs today are on the rise, or use of EVs. Now, just in case you still prefer private transport but want to go electric, I think what is really needed is a mother-all platform that allows you to efficiently find the next charge. Where is it available, and if it's available, and how you can actually use that to pay seamlessly across multiple vendors, which are actually showing it on the doorstep. And finally, last piece, autonomous vehicles, shuttles, and buses should actually be moved from the prototype stage to become operational. What I mean is infusing the AV buses into main bus trunk routes and potentially first and last mile options. Basically bring the AV buses into the mainstream, into the bus packages. And that can actually help generate resource savings, both in terms of buses and manpower, and then help create a viable model to apply the AV bus into the public transport ecosystem. So, testing and experimentation quite clearly has been a linchpin of Singapore's smart nation journey. The pandemic crisis has actually pushed quite a lot of us and also the agency to move quickly from the prototypes into deployment. But the next priority, which I want to put to you, is quite obvious. We need to figure out how we can scale up the smart city innovations for citywide applications and, most importantly, achieve citywide benefits. One obvious next priority, as I mentioned, is really to see how we enable estates to become more sustainable, leveraging on the digital enterprise platform that does not only enables you to run a more secure and efficient facility, but also able to optimize energy usage and reduce carbon footprint to drive towards the net zero outcomes that we all desire. Another priority is really to see how we can build a more pervasive, integrated smart lighting network that not only brings a quantum jump in energy efficiency, but also creates a robust parallel network for city security, and hopefully in the future, become your ubiquitous V2X platform. Last but not least, I think one quite obvious next priority is to see how we can come together and fashion a digitally enabled multimodal transport system that can be constantly, and I say again, constantly effective in providing affordable and seamless transportation while capable of reducing the overall transport carbon footprint. Now, to bring all these priorities into reality, we will require collaboration and partnership, first across the government agencies, then between the agencies and the industry strategic partners. I will put to you that ST Engineering stands ready as your strategic partner to see how we can actually move ahead to help support the next step of our Smart Nation journey. And for that, one that leverages on the good aggregation of software and hardware technologies overlaid on new operational concepts to make a big, big difference to the lives of citizens in a smart and sustainable city and nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Min Leong, for your sharing with us. And with that, we've come to the end of today's main plenary. I hope that you've managed to gain some takeaways from our speakers earlier. Now, in line with the theme of digitalization, we will be distributing an exclusive Innotech Conference 2022 NFT token at the end of this event, and it will be sent to you via email. And we invite you to share the NFT token on social media or redeem it into your Ethereum wallet. So do keep a lookout for that, okay? Now, keeping with the theme of sustainability, we also encourage you to drop your batch off at any of the recycling bins that we've put around the hall, okay, at the end of the conference. Because if we're coming back for the breakout sessions later, you'll still need your batch. So keep it with you all the way till the end of the day, okay? So I'm guessing that you might be feeling a little bit hungry right now, and it is my pleasure to announce that lunch will be served very soon. And it will be at the foyer and the showcase room. So when you exit the hall, you will see it on the outside. And after lunch, we look forward to seeing you back here for the 6 breakout tracks, which consist of a 2-part segment with 3 concurrent specialized tracks. That's where you can learn in greater detail from subject matter experts on how smart, secure, and sustainable technologies are applied to key industries and to form the foundation for a borderless digital world. So with that, I'd like to say a big thank you for joining us this morning, and I hope that you've enjoyed yourselves. We'll see you again at the breakout sessions. In the meantime, enjoy your lunch. Bon appetit.